This fly is one of my favorite springtime panfish patterns. So a lot of people will say, yeah, the bluegills, they'll take anything, or sunfish, they'll take anything. But in the early season, a lot of times they're not tuned into that funky hit anything mojo. So you really need to whack them on the head with something that's close to what they eat. And so, because a lot of these bluegills are eating a lot of chironomids, that's what we're going to tie. So it's basically a chironomid pattern with a hot bead on it, and it's a really effective bluegill pattern when they're being a little bit picky. So we're going to start out attaching our thread. Use black thread. You could actually use whatever color you want. And I'm going to attach some crystal flash just wherever, and bring that to the back. And I'm going to grab some V-rib. This is a medium olive, and usually just measure out a little bit here. Now the thing with V-rib is it's got a D-shaped cross section, so you want to always make sure you're tying with that flat piece down. And to start it off, I usually cut my V-rib at a sharp angle so that I can tie that into the back of the hook so that it doesn't create this huge lump on the bend where everything's tied in. So just go ahead and tie in the V-rib at the back, and I'm just going to wrap that V-rib all along the hook. Just want to keep the spacing on that pretty good. We're going to have a thorax on this guy, so we'll actually tie that off just before the bead. Now sometimes what you can do is you can cut that off with a little bit of excess hanging down like that, and then what I'll do is I'll tie that and force it into the bead cavity there, and that kind of helps to secure the bead in place a little bit more than just the dubbing will. So I've tied that further into there. Now I'm simply going to take my crystal flash and wrap in between those ribbed sections of the V-rib, and that's just to give it some flash, and I think it also helps those segmentations to stand out. Okay, just like that. So that's looking really chironomid-y. And these bluegill will actually, they'll just devour these chironomids all day long. And then for the thorax area, you'll want to grab some black or grayish dubbing. I'm just going to actually use some UV dubbing. Kind of a blackish purple. Again, that's not hugely important. Something dark, I just like contrast for the thorax. And then we whip finish, and we're done. The way I like to fish these is basically just right off of an indicator. You could also fish it off of a popper or a dry fly or something, but I usually like to fish it off of an indicator down to whatever level you find the fish, and you just drop it right in front of their heads and give it a little mooch motion, give it some movement like a chironomid would be just trying to escape and hatch, and they'll pound it.